and welcome to another episode of Hoop HR Highlights. I'm Donna, Head of Business Operations here at Hoop, and today we have a very special guest joining us, Katrina, the Operations Director of the Cardiff Devils. We're so excited to have her here for her insights and her experiences, and as someone we've partnered with closely and will have an ongoing relationship with the Cardiff Devils, it's nice to actually just get you on the podcast. In this episode, we'll be diving into behind-the-scenes aspect of your role with the Devils, your journey to becoming the operations director, and what it takes to oversee the operations of such a diverse and dynamic team. Whether you're a fan of the Devils or not, someone interested in the world of sports management, you're in for a treat. So, I think the first talking point really is what brought you into this role as the Devils? What interested you about joining them as a team, but also how has your career kind of led to this point?
I think the first thing to mention was there was no role when I first joined the Cardiff Devils. So essentially I've been around the team for 25 years. I started supporting them from the age of 19. And then sort of 9 years before I joined the team, I was actually volunteering on the match nights alongside my full-time job. So I would help out with match night ticket sales. I got to know a lot of the fans, and it then progressed into helping the players when they arrived in the UK to setting up their apartments, so making up beds, the glamorous stuff, stocking fridges with groceries. And then the current ownership group came to Cardiff 10 years ago. They're from Calgary. And 2 years in, my boss, Todd Kelman, asked me to come and work for him, but had no job title for me. He just knew he wanted me to work for him.
Oh, I love that.
So I am still a fan of the team, very much. And I think the players know when we lose badly or I feel like they haven't made the effort, it does show in my face. I'll never say it out loud, but I am still very much a fan. But yeah, it's been a very unusual journey, but a journey that came about just simply from being a volunteer for the club.
I love that. And I think it's nice to hear it not as almost a planned career, like a planned career move, because a lot of it is like this was my end goal, but it's nice that something organic has happened with a business that you genuinely are invested in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with your role as it stands at the moment, I know it's really, really, really broad. You wear many hats.
Yes.
Tell us about some of those hats, because
Okay.
your role is very random at times.
Yeah, it is really random. So I think when I started out at the Cardiff Devils 8 years ago, it was mainly to manage the ticket sales, the group bookings, offer a better level of customer service. I think Todd would agree with me on that. And what made my job easier was I knew a lot of the fans, and having those relationships with the fans are key to keeping them engaged, loyal, and the passion, because sport is based on hearts and minds and winning them over. And then over, I suppose, my initial 3 years, I started taking on more and more responsibility. So I organised all the away travel for the team, booking the hotels, the coaches, scheduling that. Then it became, you can organise their flights coming into the UK and scheduling all their transfers. And then it became find properties for them to live in and manage tenancy agreements. This is all just the start of the season. We haven't even got into the season yet. So it's kind of evolved, and I think what I've done is kind of demonstrate my capability and asked for more responsibility. And I'm very lucky to work for a boss that gives me complete autonomy and has allowed me to evolve in that role. Because as I said, when I started out, there was no job title. I just knew I was very much needed for customer service and ticket sales and doing the human resources for the arena and the Devils, because they didn't have a human resource person. But I would say there's very little human resource, and it's more babysitting 22 players.
Oh my gosh.
And running match nights. So yeah, it's really evolved now to the point whereby I'm heavily involved in, creating the partnerships for the organisation, managing those partnerships, making sure that every one of our partners is getting what they need from the relationship. I do a lot around the community programme in schools, making sure that's all scheduled in, and then running the match night from start to finish. That's me.
That's crazy, isn't it? It's like it's just so broad, like from HR to finding houses to buying shopping. I think what's really nice is when we came down and met with you as a potential sponsor, essentially when we were having those first conversations, is your passion and how much you love it, but how much of that community that is built around the Cardiff Devils, that really comes through from you when you first meet you. But then when you go down and you see it in real life, you do feel it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really engaging, because we went to a match, didn't we? We had like a team night out, and we went to a match, and it was me, marketing, HR. And within about 5 minutes, me and Louisa in HR, we were into it. We were chanting, we were doing all the claps, we were loving life. But it was a real, you could feel it. You could feel that there was that energy there. It was just really, really nice. So I think you're such a good face and voice for that, for clients.
Thank you.
Because you do just feel that passion.
Thank you.
And that's half the battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if we can't buy into you as a representative of the Devils, it's all from a business point of view, like they've got that spot on with you.
And it's very authentic, you know.
Yes.
I love the sport. Before hockey, I was really into football. Lost my love for football about 20 years ago when the wages went sky high and it became less about the fan and it became more of a business. Hockey in the UK, hockey worldwide, I would say, is very community focused. So it doesn't matter whether you're a high level hockey player earning millions and millions, or whether, you know, you're at the lower end. It is still very community focused. And the one thing I love about my job is that I get to create memories for people in a variety of circumstances. You know, it could be somebody that's going through a difficult time in life. It could be somebody who's been terminally ill, you know, and I get to create that special moment. And it doesn't take a lot of effort from me, but it's a lifetime memory for that person and their family. And, you know, the schools program, I love going in and just seeing just the innocence of the questions that these kids come out with, you know, because it's very rugby and football in Wales.
Yeah, true.
You know, and I would say, you know, through my experience that, you know, the 8 years I've been in, the guys that we recruit, they really buy into our culture, they really buy into our ethos. And it's more than just a game.
Yeah. When we went to we went to a networking event, there was the one where the head coach was doing a talk around culture and everything. I found it really interesting how it mirrors a culture in business. So you see the same culture mirrored in, you never kind of make that connection to you, as much as you've got the players and, you know, you've got the business behind it, you see the sport first. Whereas actually looking at the way that he was like, this is how I recruit into my team. It's like, that's the same way we recruit into our business.
100%.
That's the same way businesses do. And I think you can see how much everyone from the top down just loves it. But it was really nice to talk and interact with the players as well. And I was like, so what are you going to do when you finish? You're going to go back to Canada? And he's like, no, I live in Penarth. I love it. And I'm like, Penarth, this is bonkers. Because you just do think, why are you going to stay in Wales? But like, they genuinely, you can see they loved Wales and they built their families and their lives in Wales, which is really nice as well. Yeah,
it is. And, you know, I think out of all the elite league teams, we're probably one of the better cities. You know, Welsh people are very friendly. Some of the players have ended up with Welsh wives, so good on the Welsh girls for nailing them down. But yeah, it's you know, if I look at it from kind of with my HR hat on, it's still exactly the same values you'd have in any, you know, high performing team. You know, everybody's got to buy in. It's not about individuals. Everybody's got to understand the culture and respect and acknowledge each other. And, you know, it really does take an army of people to create that. And we're very fortunate because we're very lean as an off-ice team. There's only 4 of us that run it. But we have an army of volunteers. And I can relate to that because that's how I started out. But they buy into what we do. Everybody knows that 9 months of the year, your life is just consumed by Cardiff Devils. I mean, mine's different. It's all year round and I'm very lucky. I love it. But, you know, for 9 months of the year, it is, you know, a lot of intensity and it's emotional. You know, you get highs and lows for the game and it's how you as a team manage those highs and lows. So there's no blame culture. You know, you share the responsibility collectively.
How, if the team has a really bad loss or, you know, a really place where they're quite down, how as a team then do you kind of build them up again? Do you know, because it must be, you take so many knocks within sports and if they've had a really, really tough game and then they've got another game 2 days later, how do you manage that? How do you, what is it that you do or the Cardiff Devils do to kind of keep them up and keep them with that positive mindset?
I think it goes back to sharing the responsibility of the loss. It's not about, you're not blaming your goalie for having an off night because, hey, you've only got one goalie on the ice, you know, so it's very unfair to blame him if he has had an off night. You know, you're talking about your defence guys in front of them, you know, everybody shares in that responsibility. And I think the one thing we're very good as an organisation is almost going, that's happened, park it, let's move on.
Yeah.
You know, what's done is done, you've got to let it go. I mean, don't get me wrong, there have been some occasions whereby we've had to make some really tough decisions in changing, you know, players. Maybe they just weren't the right fit for the team. You know, maybe their attitude wasn't quite spot on. Maybe they just weren't of the calibre we expected them to be. You know, our business is really based around performance.
Yeah.
They as players are based around performance. But we are good at having those one-to-ones with them. The coach is really good at, you know, having that kind of 15 minutes one-to-one.
Yeah.
You know, maybe showing them video, talking about it. But there's an absolute no blame. You're not kind of, you know, humiliating people or anything like that.
And, you know, there can be that misconception with sports, isn't it, sometimes? And, you know, we've heard awful stories in the news about Alex Ferguson throwing boots at people. And also, God help if anyone threw an ice skate at someone. But yeah, you hear all sorts of stories in news. So it's interesting to, again, it parallels what good and high-performing teams are like in businesses. And one of our main values here at Hoop is around that accountability piece. And the fact that, you know, be accountable, but you know, also hold people accountable and like coach and develop. So yeah, I just find it really interesting how two such different businesses mirror each other quite well.
100%.
So with your role prior to the Cardiff Devils, that was more HR focused, wasn't it? Tell us a little bit about your time there.
I remember you, Donna, when I was in HR at United Rush.
Many moons ago. It feels like another lifetime.
I know. Yeah, I mean, even me working in HR, that wasn't a natural. You know, I woke up one day and thought, I want to work in HR. Yeah. You know, a lot of my background has been customer service related. Then I had my 2 daughters, and I was made redundant from Royal Mail at the time, running their customer service function. And I applied to Cardiff University, their HR team, to do their recruitment. And then progressed from there. And I spent 10 years at United Welsh. United Welsh was more diverse in the HR I did, because I did their, not just their recruitment, I did their corporate induction, I did their payroll, exit interviews and all that. And you know, thankfully through them and their support, I became CIPD qualified. Yeah. And I'm forever grateful to them because they're an awesome organisation to work for. They probably transformed my outlook in terms of thinking, you know, you can learn later in life and get a professional qualification. And I'd like to think from just my background, my experience, heavily involved, whether it's customer orientated or people orientated, I think that's one of my key strengths in being a good communicator. And I do feel at times that I'm everybody's PA in the Cardiff Devils, including fans too, because I'm trying to remember everything for everyone. But I do think that's probably one of my key strengths, in as much as, you know, I've had the side of it where you have the employee relationship, and I've had the side of it where you're the customer service, you know, side of it. So yeah, it feels like a world away, you know, working in HR. And I do miss some of my colleagues. Nobody makes me a cup of tea or brings me a cup of coffee. You know, I hate to say it.
You don't even bring me a hot dog on match day.
No, not even a hot dog. Not even a hot dog. You know, I might get a Starbucks now and again for good behaviour.
See, my husband, he was really happy that they had 0% Guinness on tap because he was driving. So he was like, it tastes exactly the same. Yeah. So I was like, you can drive, I'll have a drink.
Yeah, we cater for everybody.
It is quite nice. It's like the feeling that I got, so obviously I went there with friends, but I've been there with family as well. And you really do have that sense of the family and the community, to the point that my eldest daughter, she got a bit too into it. She was really screaming her head off at one point in time, and she even shouted, "Oi, ref!" I was like, I don't know where she heard. I was like, I don't even know where she heard that from. But there was a couple in front of us, and she was just over their head with the big foam finger. She hit him on the head about 20 times, and bless him, he just went, "It's absolutely fine, don't worry about it." He said, "I love it." She was just, every time she got up, she bashed him across the head, bless him. And he was just like, "It's fine, I love her, she's fine." And it was just really nice, because I was like, you haven't got to worry about them, and everyone was really accommodating. And I think that's a lovely little sense of community you've got there.
Yeah.
Do you think, with the role that you have at the moment, do you think all your previous HR experience has kind of led into your success, like managing people, managing different personalities and egos and things like that?
I think 100% for sure. I mean, if you speak to Todd, my boss, he will say I'm the queen. Gotta remember, I'm not a dude. I'm the queen of, he calls them awkward conversations. I call them honest conversations. And I think that's very much from my background from HR. I think there's a way of managing expectations with people, and, that goes from whether you're a customer, whether you're a member of staff, whether you're a partner. I'm always upfront and honest. And if there's something we can't do, I'd rather tell you straight away. And equally, if I think a player's stepping out of line and, not really communicating in a good manner, I will hold them accountable. But there's a way of doing it without offending somebody. I think definitely with the managing of people, because there's a lot of moving parts in my job. And whilst I may not directly manage the players, I manage their schedule outside the game night. So I have to, be on it, and I have to communicate effectively with them and get their buy-in. And, I've been very fortunate in my role to be able to influence and shape some of the decisions we've made in the organisation. And I think, again, it's come from my HR background to having the ability, to challenge constructively, and to get your voice heard without it coming across in any other way. An email, WhatsApp, sometimes the context and tone can be misunderstood.
Absolutely.
So I would rather pick up the phone. If I can't see you, I'll pick up the phone. And it just clears any misunderstanding straight away. And if you've got to have that honest conversation, they're never difficult, they're never awkward. If your intention is right and you're just being honest and you know what your outcome is, I'd rather have the conversation in person. But that all comes from a HR background and obviously managing staff and having to deal with those awkward situations for disciplinaries and grievances,
And I think we talk about it's constructive and honest feedback for growth purposes, isn't it?
100%.
And I think if the attention is always positive, then that comes through when you can have a conversation. But like you said, it just doesn't come through on email.
No.
So with you managing HR and with you managing operations and obviously facilities and everything that you manage now and events, is there a part of what you do now or what you've done before that you have like a natural preference for? Like I'm not a fan of organising events because I go a bit too outlandish. The next thing you know, we're all trying to be in a skydiving centre or something and I'm being told no, don't be daft. Is there anything as part of your role that you have a preference for or that you're like, oh?
I think... Well, there's two parts of my role I really enjoy. Probably three, actually. I enjoy helping the players settle in and their partners and their wives and girlfriends. You've got to remember some of these, players come to us, they've never been in the UK.
That's mad, isn't it?
And maybe they come in with their wife or their girlfriend. What always confuses them is when they're in a supermarket and they go down the shopping aisle and they see things in Welsh as well as English. They're like, am I in a different world? Am I in a different country? So that's always a talking point.
And that's something you'd never think of, really. We just take it for granted. It's something you just never think of.
And you think about road signs in particular. They're always Welsh first. And I always think, oh God, not only are they learning trying to be on the right side of the road, they've got road signs in Welsh. I'm surprised they ever make it back, to be quite honest. So like, August is as much as August is challenging for me every year because it is a lot of work and you're running it alongside pre-season games. I love the challenge. I love when I see them really truly settled and they're wearing a smile and they're into the rhythm of this schedule because they're very much about schedule players. They have a routine. So that makes me smile. I love our season. I am happy organising game night. Todd is very much a last minute planner, whereas I am the person that will make sure the photographer's there. And if we're doing a theme night, that we've got everything lined up. That's everything from our social media, our communications. And, I thrive. I work every week because I know at the end of the week is game day.
I love that.
And that's, and I wake up the next day and it feels like I've got a hangover, but I haven't got a hangover. I'm just tired. But it's the thrill of knowing it's another successful game day and seeing people's faces, win or lose. I've had people come to our games where we've lost 5-0, played absolutely atrocious, and they've gone, that was the best night ever. And I'm like,
That's
sorry?
That's what we were like. We lost, it was Nottingham, I think, that they were playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it lost, but we loved it. We had the best time.
Yeah. So like, I think, well, we're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Because win or lose, you're going away with a positive experience. Yeah. And that's what it's about. It's not just about the sport. The other side of it is entertainment.
Yeah.
And we market ourselves. We are a night out of entertainment. So I just think if people walk away, win or lose, whether it's their first experience or they're a regular, and they're happy and they've enjoyed that night out with us, we've done something good.
Yeah. And with the kids one as well, I think we watched a really good game with the kids one. Yes. Penalties and it was shootout and it was very dramatic and they were into it. But I think even that, they all had something to do, they were all involved.
Yes.
And I like the fact that everyone was talking to the kids and all the adults, all those little things. But I think the Pride night seemed really impressive as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think to be able to go and run events like that as well, especially, in sports in general, I think that Pride event was really nice as well.
But that's where I think my HR background has come in.
Yeah.
We were one of the first teams in the Elite League to embrace the If You Can Play, You Can Play project, which is a North American project, sort of breaking, I suppose, the stigma around LGBTQ plus people, and, sport is for everyone. And I suppose having the HR background, and because it's the essence of everything we do in HR, equality and diversity, I was very fortunate to strike up a positive relationship quite early on with Pride Cymru. And every year it's grown and grown. And the beauty of what we do in having these Pride nights, again, we were one of the first of the league and now it's an annual event, is we're educating our audience. Yeah. For those fans that, do identify from the LGBTQ community, they can come and be themselves. And I'll never forget, I had a father and son came, and the son wrote just an email into our info account. This was about 5 years ago, and he said, this is the first sporting event I felt I could come to with my dad and be myself.
Oh, that's lush.
And that's
so
why
nice.
That's why it's important. That's why, you're always looking at ways to make sure you are inclusive and, that you are listening to your audience and, putting things in place that they want, even with the kids takeover. Who's to say that in 10 years' time, some of those kids could become match night volunteers or season ticket holders or work for the Devils? You just don't know.
Yeah.
And
I think when we've taken our kids ice skating quite a few times, and my eldest, she went with her school. They did like a school trip, and they went down with the school and ice skated, and she was really chuffed with herself that she could do it. But she was telling everyone, she was telling everyone there about the game that she went to, because it was a couple of weeks after that they did this school trip, and like one of the friends in her class would be like, the kids want to go watch an ice skating match and told me to ask you. And I was like, it's just the Cardiff Devils. I was like, they do like early games and stuff. So it's such a funny thing, the influence that it has. Like, she's like, I want to try ice skating now. And now we're trying ice skating. I'm going to tell my friends about it. And even like little kids, you're building up little fans. And the stuff you do with the schools as well. Like how many sports people go into schools and do talks like that? Like, it's amazing.
But that's why I really wanted you guys to take this community program, because we have a relationship going back to before I worked for the Cardiff Devils, and I just felt it was a good fit for the organisation. But I think when we went out and did the visit, and seeing how engaged our players are with young people and the impact it can have. And, I think, honestly, this next 9-10 months where, Hoop will be going out into schools and we'll be celebrating that partnership is going to have such a positive impact.
Yeah, it really will. And then, like, Hoop education, particularly, a big focus for them is community.
Absolutely.
And, we've been involved in things with sponsoring, buying cricket kits, wasn't it? And then also we've got sponsorship at House of Sport. Yeah. And Blair as the director and, Paul as the co-founder, they really focused on that community feeling. This is just another added benefit that, something else that we can kind of put out there, because it's just lovely. The kids just think it's brilliant. And they met someone famous. Yeah. Met a famous sports person.
It's when they ask me to sign, I'm really embarrassed. I'm like, you do realise I don't play, I can't even skate, and they're like, please, miss. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I'm just like, literally, I'm like, you'll never recognise my name in years to come.
So
I'm always
cute,
embarrassed, and the players are just laughing at me because they know I'm just that awkward human. I'm quite happy to organise things. I'm very much, I suppose I like being in the background. I like, I like it being about all the players and their interaction with the kids. I'm just here to facilitate it. Yeah.
Well, talking about the players then, when they come over, they're on their own. They're in, if they've come from Canada, wherever, they're in a different country altogether. That must be really tough for them. Yeah. How do you, apart from helping them with their shopping and finding, how do you kind of on a day-to-day kind of help them? Because there must be an element of homesickness and an element of, they are literally the other side of the world, some of them. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's easier now when you've got, obviously, WhatsApp. You can ring home, you can FaceTime home. But for some of them, homesickness is a real thing. And we actually, we have had a player in the past where his partner just, felt homesick. So aside from obviously when they arrive, we have their apartment set up, their Wi-Fi ready to go, groceries, beds made, you can just relax after a long day of travel. The first 2 weeks that they're here is very intense. So we will have everything from their fitness testing to an induction, where the induction will be with the coach initially, and then with Todd and myself, and we talk about, these are our expectations, this is what we permit, this is what we don't permit. If you're ever unsure, you can WhatsApp us, you can call us, you can email us, come by the office. We very much have like an open door. I could probably write a book on some of the random questions I've had. Truly, I could. It's actually amusing. And I always say every year, there's always one or two what I call my special ones, because I know they're going to contact me every week. There's going to be something, but I just see it as, if I can make them have their best hockey experience here, I've done my job right. Yeah. And we've had players that have played for us that have played in the NHL, which is the highest you can play. And they've said the best experience they had was with the Cardiff Devils.
Oh, that's amazing.
And, that's a testament to what we do behind the scenes, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah. So with the Cardiff Devils then, what's the kind of future plans and future goals with it? Because obviously they're huge in their league at the moment, but what's next?
To win, to keep winning. Well, we're Wales' most successful sports team. Yeah. I think we've had, when was the last time we won? We won the playoff trophy in 2022. So we've had a couple of dry years now. We need to get back to, getting it over the finishing line. Yeah. I think from a business perspective, I almost think we're the hidden gem in Cardiff Bay. It always blows my mind how many people in Wales don't know there's a hockey team or know anything about us. And then they're like, we didn't even know you were here. And maybe they live around the corner, which is, fascinates me. I do want to grow more of our outreach in the community. So this year, besides the partnership with yourself on our school community programme, Prostate Cymru we have renewed as our charity partner, but we've also lined up with the NHS blood and transplant organ donation team.
Oh, interesting.
So Organ Donation Week is in September. We're going to do a big piece of work with them, in helping them boost their, donor numbers and people on the organ donation register. So I'm always looking for a community element, and what we can do as a team. We have our traditional Air the Bear in December where we donate to charities. That's an annual worldwide event. From a partner point of view, I would like to continue to grow our partnership. We can't put any more seats in the ice rink, even though another 1,000 seats would cure a lot of my problems come game day. So it's how do we grow our partners and their investment in us and our sport, and where they see how they align and what their return on investment is, and really being a good ambassador in Wales as a Welsh sports team. Yeah. I think that's key. So not just being a good ambassador in the world of hockey in the UK, but being a good ambassador as a Welsh sports team. And I think that's, we are blessed with the players that we have, but I think it's down to every single one of us that when we're out there, we're living and breathing the values of who we are.
Yeah. It's really interesting, because that's kind of something we look at here at Hoop, is that we want people, we went through a big employee value proposition piece quite recently, and we went out to the business and said, you tell us, we can tell you, but actually you tell us, you're the people working here, you experience Hoop every day. And they came up with our values, which was expertise, empathy, integrity and drive. And we were like, how amazing is that? That's what the people who work for us, that's what they say about Hoop.
Yeah.
And I think we do, everything we do tries to have that message. All of our marketing, all of our like recruitment from induction, we've built it all through. And those values, I do think, when I've gone through a recruitment piece internally recently, and something that I just kept saying was, we're just good people. Everyone downstairs are just good people. Everyone's driving towards the same goal, but our candidate is key. Our client relationships are key. We do the right thing. Yeah. And I think that's something that's nice to see mirror with an organisation that we have sponsored with and have like an ongoing relationship with.
100%. And, you know, we go back to accountability. That Pride game in February, we forgot to tell the opposition team that we were wearing white that night as our Pride jersey. They wear white as their away jerseys. We literally found out 3 hours before face-off. And nobody could bring the jerseys down. So what did we do? We put something out on social media and went, hey, we've messed up. Yeah. You know, just own it. Don't make excuses for it. Own it. You're going to get a bit of backlash because that's the nature of social media. But having the ability to own it and own it from, you know, from the get-go, and then put it right. So when we played in Manchester the following night, we wore our jerseys. Yeah. You know, we'll never make that mistake again. And that's the thing, isn't it? When you do mess up, when you do make a mistake, try and find the learning in that. Because there's always a learning. You know, it's not a failure, but there's always a learning.
Yeah, definitely. And if there was someone who wanted to get into working specifically with a sports team, and supporting them in the kind of back office function, how would you say, what would the first steps be to that? What would someone's entry into that industry be?
I would say volunteer. Yeah. Volunteer is the starting point. You know, there's some sports teams where they have a huge amount of people in their back office, and then there's others like ours where we don't, because all of our money goes into the on ice product, because that is who we are. And if the on ice project is not doing well, then the Cardiff Devils as an organisation is not doing well. So I would encourage people to, as a starting point, volunteer, be passionate about it. Don't do it because you think it looks cool on Instagram or TikTok or, you know, you want to impress your friends. Do it because you want to do it, because you believe in it, because you're passionate about it. If you ask any of my close friends, I talk about the Cardiff Devils every day. I can link everything back to the Cardiff Devils. I literally wake up every day and think, what can we do differently? How can I make that better? Yeah. And that passion, 8 years on, hasn't gone away. Although I do have my moments where I go, I'm too old for this. You know? But, you know, I get through it. But no, I think volunteering is key. Outside of the Cardiff Devils, a couple of years ago, I volunteered for Crisis at Christmas. I'm passionate about that because I went through a situation like that when I was a teenager, where my dad became unemployed. We lost our house. I lived in a homeless hostel with other families and my family for 16 weeks. I went and did it in sort of the Christmas break of the hockey schedule because I wanted to give back. But why did I want to give back? Because I was passionate about it. I could relate to it. And, you know, just as much as I'm passionate about Cardiff Devils, I'm passionate about food banks and homeless charities and stuff. I'm always, and I suppose that probably is why I'm so entwined with our organisation. It's that community feel again, you know. It's not all about what can we gain from this, but you have to be passionate about it. And volunteering in sport is a good way to start, because you will demonstrate to hopefully your future employers that you have the right attitude, you have the right behaviours, and that massive enthusiasm for the job, because that carries you through the long work hours.
I think that's great advice, because you can't, like, there's that adage that they say, isn't it? You know, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
100%.
And it is true. If you're really passionate about it, but you can't fake that either. No. So you can't, you know, if it's disingenuous, if you try to do it because you want to work in the sports industry because there's money and all that stuff, it doesn't quite translate, does it?
And I think, you know, that's what I would say is the negative side of social media today is everything looks perfect on there, and everybody wants certain content just to feed their social media channels. And, you know, it's often better to forget about the aesthetics and just focus on what you're passionate about, what gives you purpose and makes you get out of bed every day, and do that, whatever that would be, and just go and ask if you can volunteer and learn that way.
That's great advice, because I think obviously there'll be fans of Cardiff Devils who, you know, would love to work there and would love to build a career there, but it's that in point, isn't it? So that's really, really great advice. With your whole career, obviously it's very broad, what would be your biggest achievement, do you think, to date?
I think organising the content to Cup final. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm not just saying
it sounds immense.
Yeah, because I had to turn it around in 3.5 weeks over a Christmas period, and December's like our busiest period just in our hockey schedule. And here I am trying to liaise with teams where English is not their first language.
Yeah.
Thank God for WhatsApp, because we can all communicate on that. But yeah, I would say organising the content to Cup final. I think if I think of it from a female standpoint, showing that you can achieve what you want to achieve just through sheer determination and being a good employee.
Yeah.
I go into work every day and I think I just want to find ways that they can't replace me. Everybody's replaceable, but my attitude every day is I don't want them to replace me. So how can I make myself completely indispensable to them? But the content of Cup finals, 100% for sure, is probably my greatest achievement.
Can't believe 3.5 weeks, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. So looking at HR career then, what advice would you give someone who wants to pursue a career in HR?
I think if you're going to pursue a career in HR, and this is just my observation and opinion from my time, where I was full-time in HR, if you're going to work with people, you've got to love people.
Yeah.
You've got to love them for their flaws and their all their intricacies, because you will see many sides to people and it's not always pretty.
Yeah.
And it's how you manage those situations without putting your own stamp, your own personal belief and judgment on it.
Yeah.
Humans are very unique. We're all different. You only need to look at siblings. You can have the same upbringing. You can be two very different humans. And I think there are some people in HR, from my experience, that are very focused on the theory and the policies and the procedures, and there's no flexing, you can't adapt. That's how it is.
Yeah.
But that's not how life works. Life throws you multiple curveballs. Your ability to adapt and flex and respond is what makes you good in a HR career.
I love that. And I think it's very easy to do all the theory and CIPD and study, but if you haven't got that inherent kind of emotional intelligence, and like you said, that this is a situation being thrown at me, let's deal with it, then I can imagine that'd be really hard. We say with Louisa, because Louisa's our HR and office manager, that one minute she could be running a disciplinary and having to quote policy and have really tough conversations. The next minute she's all jazz hands talking about the summer event we've got coming up, and that could happen within the space of about 20 minutes of each other. So it is very, like you said, that flexibility and that adaptability. Louisa shows that in bounds, and that's why she's good at what she does. But I laugh. I'm like, 1 minute disciplinary, the next minute jazz hands. I'm like, you do it so brilliantly.
And that is exactly me. I could. It's funny because I joke with the players. I say to them, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. That's always the killer line.
I bet they hate that.
It's great though. It's a great line to have. And I actually do it with staff, but I do it with a smile on my face, because actually it's okay to let them know they've let you down, but you don't have to hold them in a room and give it to them and quote every policy. You can do it in a way. So if you're going to have a career in HR, be a people person. Do it because you genuinely love working with people. It's like a vet works with animals because they love animals, A dentist does it because they love teeth, weirdly. I have no idea why. But, do it because you genuinely are invested in people and you want to see them grow and develop. And, maybe you have to help raise their awareness to some of their poor behaviours, but you have an opportunity to influence that,
Definitely. Last year, there was that incident that was all over the news. With, the ice skate. How was that with the team? Because I can imagine that hit them all really, really hard.
That was really tough.
Yeah, I can imagine that it would have been.
Even though it didn't happen in our ice rink, you never imagine somebody's going to lose their life, ever. I think for our team, I can remember being told, I can remember actually I was running the socials for the game, and I can remember seeing Nottingham post that there'd been this, the game had stopped. And then I knew by the end of the game. And I can remember sitting with our senior management team and we were just waiting for news. And then in the early hours, we found out, and then from my personal perspective, it was going straight into how do we communicate this to our fan base, and dispel all the rumours on social media.
Yeah, because it went a bit bonkers, didn't it? Some of the stuff
and everybody worldwide had an opinion, and and then the people who were resharing the video, I'll never get my head around that. No. And then sort of the immediate thought the next day was, okay, we need to get the players to come in, we need to check in with them, we need to put some support mechanism in place. And again, this comes back to my HR background, and I'm so grateful for it. Because I have a counsellor that I used to work with at United Welsh, an independent counsellor that we used to refer staff to, and I engaged with her quite quickly to set up services for our players. It was really difficult, and it's really interesting. I was speaking to one of the line officials this morning. He popped by the office, and we were saying how horrible last year was, because we lost one player that played in our league to a car accident. We lost a young player to, we don't know, but he was a young man that lost his life, and I don't want to speculate on that. And then Adam Johnson happened, and then there was the assistant coach of Coventry Blaze took his own life, and this all happened before Christmas in the space of 6 months. And I think it just raises your awareness to the importance of checking in on people. Yeah. Not waiting until they're quiet. Yeah. Watching body language, watching how they respond to you. Because I again, it was a quote I came across yesterday, people who are depressed are the ones who put their happiest face on to the world, and I think as an organisation, it pulled us tighter. I mean, we're a pretty tight organisation as it is, but it highlighted they're not just hockey players. Yeah. Checking on health and well-being. And, I can't imagine what it felt like for them to go back out on the ice for the first time. I do remember when we did our own paying our respects to Adam Johnson that night, it was just gut-wrenching. Yeah. Gut-wrenching. And, one of the saddest incidents I've ever been involved in. Yeah, and it's and like you said, it's not just the players, it's all their families, it's all the worries around that. And it's easy to kind of, in that situation, go into business protecting mode. But obviously it's the players that you've got to protect. Yeah, the people at the end of the day. Yeah. It's not about the business per se, it's about the people. Yeah, 100%. And when you care about your people and you're connected, everything else falls into place. And it's such a tragic incident, and something I hope I never ever get to see again or have to deal with as part of our lifetime. I think it is, social media is horrible sometimes, like the resharing, like you said, of those videos that was going around, and TikTok and all sorts, and that's like the poisonous side of social media, isn't it? It's crazy. I watched the Simone Biles documentary on Netflix. She talks about when she pulled out of Tokyo, and she basically pulls up social media posts, your hair's not pretty enough to be a gymnast because you're black. Oh my God. It's cruel. Yeah. This is an incredible athlete. And she's amazing. And actually when you watch and I would really encourage you to watch it, it's 2 episodes, and she says, well, Tokyo was different. My mum and dad weren't there. Yeah. The fans were in the arena. Yeah. And I had to discover a life beyond gymnastics, find other hobbies, and that's what we do with our players. So if they've done practice and they want to go and play golf, a round of golf, go do it. Yeah. If when you come home from a long road trip and you just want to spend time with your family, go do it, because that's what centres you, that's what connects you. Amazing. Well, thank you. It's been really, really lovely speaking to you. And I didn't make up any words that didn't exist in the English language. I'm so proud of myself. You wait till I tell Todd this. It's really nice to hear, obviously, because we partnership, it's nice to hear more about your journey and everything that you cover. And it's just, you forget how small the team is. You do forget how small the team is. It's insane. And like I said, for me, sometimes I sit back and think, God, am I really doing this? I'm so lucky, because I love the team. Yeah. So a huge thank you to Katrina for joining us today and providing such a fascinating glimpse into the world of the Cardiff Devils. I think, anyone can see that your dedication and expertise plays such a role in their success and in retaining the people that are there as well. I'm sure that they
wouldn't have half the experience without you. So,
Thank you.
So if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more interviews and insights from professionals within HR. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Hoop Recruitment for our latest updates. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Hoop HR Highlights.